Around 1965, James Asher, a professor of psychology at San José State University in California, developed the teaching method called Total Physical Response, or TPR for short. Asher developed the TPR method of teaching after realizing that most children learn the grammar and vocabulary to their native language without any direct instruction, and before they entered school. Professor Asher believed that this means we learn by ourselves as children, but exactly how do we learn a language while we're young? Asher believed that as children, we use both sides of our brains to acquire knowledge faster. Now, before we go into more detail, let's have a look at the brain. The leftmost hemisphere of the brain is responsible for, amongst other things, language acquisition, and the right side of the brain is responsible for motor responses and movements. Asher had the idea that children use both the left and right hemispheres of their brains simultaneously while learning a language. In traditional schooling, a student would only be using the left hemisphere of their brains as they would be formally instructed on the language. This means that the right hemisphere is not used at all. The TPR method of teaching changes this and enables the student to simultaneously use both the left and right hemisphere of his or her brain to learn a language in the classroom. This is done by incorporating movements into the lesson to ensure that both hemispheres of the brain are working. As an example, teachers who use the TPR method of teaching would not only teach the students the word hand, but would also have them wave their hands while repeating the word. In a similar way, teachers would have students physically jump while learning the word for jump, or run while learning the word for run, thus doubling the student's learning capacity and enhancing the learning process. A teacher, however, should not expect their learners to immediately remember new vocabulary, as it takes some time for learners to remember the newly learned material. Similar to the way in which children learn their native languages by listening and playing, but don't use the words for a long time until they start speaking. The TPR method works especially well for young learners, as it not only enables them to acquire the new vocabulary faster, but also keeps them active and involved in the lesson and curbs boredom. This method, however, might not work as well when teaching advanced grammar or working in a professional setting like in an office or university, and is thus a method that teachers should consider well before using. In the ESL classroom, however, especially while working with young children, the TPR method of teaching works very well. It's a methodology that every teacher should know well and use in order to have students respond to